Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where and when you are joining us today. It is a beautiful day outside. I'm so excited to be here with you, my friend. So, thank you to everybody who's here and joining, whether you're watching it live or watching the recording. We so appreciate you as we lock arms together to make sure that we are building a better business with each other, resulting in a better life and a better industry. That is the mantra here for the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence, is to build a better business for you as a shop owner, a better business for you as a service advisor, a better business for you as part of the industry. And by building a better business, it results in a better life for you as a shop owner, a better life for your advisors, your managers, your parts people, your technicians. It's a better life for them and their families and their spouses and their extended family. It's a really big ripple effect that happens. And the net result of all of this is that we work together to build a better industry. So I'm very, 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 very excited to be here with you today. My guest today, as we get here together, joining us first is Mr. Brian Burris. Brian joins us from Promotive. Brian, good to have you with me, brother. Good morning. How's Atlanta, Georgia?
It is beautiful as always, sir.
Well, speaking of 85 in Alaska, what is your temperature in Atlanta today?
83 and humid.
83 and humid. What's your humidity factor?
Oh, it's
83?
probably. We've had a lot of rain recently, so
Oh, a lot of rain. Yeah, nice, nice. Well, and you're recently returning to Atlanta. Congratulations.
thank you. Glad to be
Always
back.
good to move back home, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. How long you been with Promotive now, Brian?
Just over a year. Actually,
Just
end of May was a year with them. So
nice. Congratulations. And you got your promotional t-shirt, I see.
yes, yes, we get that
'Cause
after.
you have to be there for a year and then you get your t-shirt, right?
Correct.
With the Institute, you have to close 10 deals before you get a backpack. So
Oh,
there you go. Now you know. Oh, that's awesome. Welcome, Brian. Glad to have you here with us. I'm so excited to talk about what you're doing in the industry to help shop owners because there is a huge shortage in the industry. So those that are here currently are the ones that we want to elevate and bring them to the top. And speaking of phenomenal shops, phenomenal shop owners, our guest today is Brian Grosse, and he is with Glen's Auto down in California. Mike, welcome. Good to have you here with us, brother.
Good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, Brian.
Mike.
And you sound so good, Mike. I'm loving this microphone you got.
I'm going to thank you for all of that.
Oh, dude, this is awesome. How's the shop there, Glen's Auto?
It's we're pressing forward. It's been a little quiet as of late, but guys have work to do, so that's good.
That's good. That's good. And what's the makeup of your shop, Mike? What does that look like?
It's a pretty small shop, little 4-bay shop. Got one advisor, two techs, and I'm kind of the floater. I just wander around wherever I'm needed, and it's really about it.
Yep,
It's
yep.
it's
It's
it's a
that
good
all the
manageable
hats that you get
size
to
shop.
wear. Yeah, good manageable shop. Four bays, two techs, one service advisor. Are you looking at expanding, or are you wanting three techs or four techs? What are you looking at?
I think if I could ever have any more help down here, might be some support for my advisor, and possibly um, somebody to help support the technicians. But as far as growing the shop, I'm quite comfortable with where it's at.
I love it. I love it. Two techs. Each tech has two bays. That's a
Correct.
beautiful thing. So as you're waiting for parts on one, you can be working on another. You don't have to push in, pull out. There's a lot of shops where it's one for one.
Oh yeah.
It makes it
Yep.
challenging. Makes it very challenging.
Sure does.
Hey, Mike, I want to go back a little bit in history to talk about your experience in the automotive aftermarket. How did you get started? What did that look like when you entered into the industry?
I actually kind of got here. I stayed here on accident, I guess. This was, coming to work here was just, I'd just gotten out of high school and was looking for some part-time work while I was going to college, and I never left. It just turned into a full-time job, and I never had much formal education. I had a great mentor who was a phenomenal technician, and he just kind of took me under his wing and showed me the way. So,
Wow, Mike, that's a similar entry point as to what I experienced. You got a job as you were there and attending college, and you just stuck.
yep.
I say that I entered the industry because I lost a bet.
But did you really lose?
No, well, I
Great.
lost the bet, but I gained a beautiful industry that is phenomenal. There's so much love in the automotive aftermarket. There's so much integrity and so much charity that's here in this industry, and care and focus on people. That yes, in the end, I'm a winner, and I
Correct.
think so. Yeah. So
Good.
thank you very much for that perspective, Mike. So you started as did you start as a technician in the shop, or did you start at the front counter? What did that look
No,
like?
I had no idea what I was doing. I slung tires around at a Firestone for a few years, and I thought I was the fastest tire changer in the West. But
You
no,
probably were.
I came over here just as a shop helper. I mean, I did everything from sweeping floors to changing oil to cleaning the stock room out, picking up parts, dropping off customers. I did whatever I was told. So,
Yeah.
and then ended up just working more in the shop. There was actually quite a few employees here when I first came to work here, and the culture was pretty good. And I got a lot of guidance from all the technicians that were in here. There was everybody was really helpful in guiding me along and educating me and showing me the ropes. So
Oh, that's awesome. So you advanced from being the gopher, go for this, go for that, go for this, go get that, sweep this, sweep that, clean this, clean that, inventory this, inventory that. You went from being the gopher to the shop owner.
yeah, yep. Lot of pressure applied to me from the previous owner. Not pressure. I shouldn't say it that way. A lot of encouragement. To go out and get those ASEs. Classes after work at night, getting involved with those, getting my smog license. And at that point, I was being taught how to troubleshoot vehicles, diagnose, um, and then that led into working at the front counter, learning how to write service, and just figuring out how to put it all together. And the opportunity presented itself for me to buy into the place, and never really thought I was going to be a auto repair shop owner, but I think I was more afraid of leaving here to go work for somebody else. And so I took the plunge, and here I am. It's been kind of a wild ride, seen a lot of ups and downs. And probably the first 10, 15 years, more downs than ups. But, with the help of a lot of people in this industry, we've managed to turn things around. So it's a good place to be.
Oh, it sure is. And you know what I hear right there, Mike, and this is a joke. For your job security, you just went ahead and bought the shop.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know if I can do anything else, so I'm just going to buy the shop, and yeah, that's job security right there. Now, but how quickly did you discover that the skill set you have inside the bays, the skill set you have behind the front desk, behind the counter, is a different skill set to shop ownership, business ownership?
I have a lot of these, and I
Yeah, a
just
lot of hats you
a
wear.
lot of hats, and anybody out there that owns a shop knows that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and you have to be able to juggle it all around, um, and it comes with its set of challenges. That's for sure. Um,
How long did you trudge this on your own? And who was there to help you along the way when you first started out as the owner? Was the
so
previous owner there with you, lockstep, side by side, or was it good luck? Here's the deep end.
no, as a matter of fact, the unwritten contract that we had was that basically I would show up for work one day and I'd get a new hat that said boss, and Bill, who was the previous owner, he became my advisor, my bookkeeper. I mean, he was everything. He stayed here to make sure that I didn't fail, and he was kind of old school. It became challenging because his way of thinking, um, again, was kind of old school. Everything
Yeah.
was word of mouth. He didn't, although he was real techie, he didn't understand the value of having a website and all the things that come along with that, marketing, and I think that's where I started running into my struggles because I didn't know how to fix my broken business. But he was very helpful in making sure all the bills were paid on time, and that he'd kick me in the fanny if there wasn't enough money in the account, and he'd tell me to just work harder. So
Yeah.
that lasted for a long time. He left us about 3 years ago, and I didn't retire him until about 3 months before he passed. I almost refused to do it. He was just such a huge part of this operation, and miss him a lot. So,
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's awesome that you get to continue the legacy and continue the journey, the story, the company, the culture. You get to continue that legacy that was established once upon a time, and now you're the torchbearer.
yep, and enjoying it.
Well, good
So,
for you. Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. So as you step in and you took over, I could see that there's probably um, a lot of opportunities, wrong word, occurrences where you probably locked horns with Bill from old school. This is what works. This is what I've done for 35, 45, 50 years, to where you're wanting to introduce technology, software, modern marketing.
He wasn't really opposed to the changes when they started coming. Um, he really embraced them. The thing with him is he just didn't know how to guide me into doing that. Um, it was through our local auto association and other shop owners. They were the ones that actually took me under their wing and led me down a different path. But as I started bringing this information back to the shop,
Yeah.
Bill was quite helpful in getting it implemented and in place. And I didn't get any pushback from him there whatsoever.
Yeah. So the auto association that you were involved in was the ASCCA.
That's correct.
Were you working with like John and Rocky, or who was
Yeah,
it that brought?
Rocky was in our chapter when I joined. Um, Tatsu, Toshida.
Oh, love Tatsu,
He was
love Rocky.
probably the biggest cheerleader. If anybody knows Tatsu, he's a cheerleader, and
He's a champ.
he really, yeah, he was my big. He was the big pusher for me, and I'm very thankful for him for everything that he's ever done for me.
Yeah,
So
he's expanded his kingdom here recently. I think he has a second shop now.
yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah.
Running 2 shops now. I, again, my hat's off to him. It's, being an MSO is not for everyone. So,
Well,
have you
and that,
seen
I was going to ask you that, Mike. Are you looking at expanding your kingdom? Are you wanting to add to the footprint, or do you think you're comfortable where you are at the moment?
I think I'm pretty comfortable. I don't want to say I've ever considered it. It certainly has crossed my mind a time or two. Um, but I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I'm getting old, and I just don't know if that would be a good
Brian,
move.
what does that make us if he thinks he's old?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
just not sure if I'm
No.
prepared for that. So, but each individual can only handle so much, and I'm not sure
Oh,
if
yeah.
another shop is in my wheelhouse. But
Yeah. Well, and if it does come to that and you do look at expanding the kingdom and adding additional shops to what you're doing, um, gosh, man, reach out. We'd love to help you out with what that looks like and how you can build on to what you've already developed and built.
absolutely, yeah.
And that goes right into what we're talking about today is if you were to lose one of the two technicians you have, yeah, you could step in for a minute, but you've got to replace that person fairly quickly. If you're adding to the kingdom and now you've got a second location, a third location, a fourth location, you've got to have somebody like a Brian Burris, a Promotive on your side to help you find the right people that are qualified so that you can now go in and interview them. And so, Brian, my question for you, from a recruiter's point of view, how do you define a company's culture clear enough to be able to hire for that? Do you know Mike's shop so well that you're able to hire for or qualify or interview candidates to match his culture? Or how do you do that? What's your process, Brian?
So initially, whenever someone signs up with Promotive, we will set up an intake call. So that intake call, I had one yesterday. It was 2 hours long, just learning the shop's culture and what they were looking for in a technician. Uh, Building that relationship with the shop owner and myself and the other account managers, we get a good idea of what they're looking for, what the culture of the shop is, and we try to plug and play that. We'll go through hundreds of candidates before we send somebody that we think is a good fit. If we send somebody that, you know, isn't a good fit, Mike would come back to me and say, "Hey, here's some red flags from me and let's pivot moving forward." And the recruiting team will also do the same.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Brian, from a red flag point of view, what are some of the common red flags that you see from other shops, or maybe it's something that you've seen even from Glen's Automotive? What are some of those non-negotiables that you see with a lot of shops?
One thing is, it's a common occurrence is when we have a candidate, we're screening them, we're asking about their experience as well, and when they go into a shop, their experience doesn't match their resume. That happens all the time, and then we
Uh,
also see the candidates unfortunately speaking bad about the previous employer. That's a red flag usually from any shop out there. When you go into an interview, you don't want to be the one sitting there talking bad about your previous employer, your current employer. Uh, what if that technician leaves you? What are they going to
and
say about your shop?
that's the story that I'm hearing is I don't want to be the next bad story that you're telling to your next employer. So
Correct.
there's a red flag that says, yeah, no, next.
Yeah.
So do you hear that in the pre-qualification interviews that eliminates them, or is it on to Mike to listen for those indicators?
So we do ask a ton of questions when we're pre-screening or vetting a candidate for a shop. Uh, the recruiters will actually, we have a section for internal use only. They'll put red flags in of stuff that we necessarily wouldn't send to a shop. But again, the recruiter is vetting that person. I know Mike. I know what he's looking for. Um, and those red flags, I won't send a candidate. I'm not going to waste Mike's time of setting up an interview. If there are things that Mike and I have discussed that he doesn't want, that's where the buck stops with me.
Yeah. Well, and Mike, to your shop and to your experience, I want to talk about a success and then talk about a failure. Maybe we talk about a failure first. Have you ever hired somebody into your shop that disrupted your culture? And what did you learn from that?
I haven't had anybody in here that that was just completely the opposite of what our culture is. Um, Most of the issues that I've had with people that I've hired is just their inability. Um, I have different personality types that work for me now. Everybody seems to get along pretty good with one another. Um, every once in a while, I have to intervene. Maybe we forget about our lines of communication around here, but having just a really rotten banana in my basket is not something that I've had to deal with yet.
That's lucky, Mike. That's really good.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories. So,
Oh, yeah, yeah. You got it. What's the saying? You got to be slow to hire and quick to fire. I
oh
think that's what
yeah.
I've heard Gary Vee say that quite a bit. The question. Whoops. Question for you, Mike, and then Brian. Same question for you. And this is a comment that's coming in from Sherman. What are the top 3 hiring tips that you've got that you can share here, Mike? What are your top 3 hiring tips? And then Brian will ask you the same question.
I think the first thing for me is patience. Um, don't don't fall in love with somebody on the first interview. Um, take it
You
slow,
mean
but not
love at
too
first
slow.
sight's not a thing?
Yeah. Take it a little slow, not too slow, because you might not be the only person interviewing that candidate. The other thing that I would have to say is think about the position you're hiring for
Okay.
and compile a really good list of questions, job related questions, and also um, personal questions. Get to know the person a little bit on a personal level. If they're a chatterbox like me, you'll get them to almost forget that they're in an interview and then just start talking openly and candidly, and you can oftentimes really see somebody's true colors when you can get them to just open up and start chatting.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah, the more you can get that candidate to be the one talking, the better off you're going to have a feel if it's working or not. Brian, same question to you. What are your top 3 hiring tips for
Uh, Going back
Sherman?
to what Mike said there, they're not just meeting with you. That's one of the questions that we asked during our pre-screen vetting is how many other applications do you have? Do you have any offers on the table? Any of that? So circling back to that, it's speed to lead. That's a saying we use almost every day. We've got to be fast on these candidates. If they're good, we need to get them in front of the shop owners as quick as possible that we're working with because there's other dealerships you may not be offering the most, uh, hourly or flat rate, whatever it may be. But if the culture fit is good, they're going to pick you. So sell your shop on that. So speed of lead. Uh, the questions that we use can be edited, per se. We ask tons of questions. Like if I send somebody over from Mike, we're asking, how much do you have in tools? Ask those tough questions up front. Ask, what do you think your level is of diagnostic, being electrical drivability on a scale of 1 to 10? That's one of the questions that we ask as well. So we try to get as much information as we can up front before we send them to the shop. Um, Secondly, I would say, keep the communication open, even if it doesn't work out, right? They take another job over you. We see it day in and day out where a technician won't accept your offer, but they accept somebody else's. And they always thought that grass was greener on the other side. Turns out it wasn't. So we see that a lot as well. So again, keeping communication open with that candidate is key.
Yeah, and I'd like to call that building a bench. So
Absolutely.
as the coach, you've got to build a bench of technicians that you're engaging with, and you just keep in touch once a month. You reach out and say, "Hey, how's it going? How's the shop? Oh man, I'm so glad you're having success over there. It sounds like you're doing really well. Oh my gosh, whatever." But eventually, there might be an opportunity that comes back around. And Mike, you may lose one of your technicians at the shop. Maybe he has to move back home to Wisconsin, take care of mom and dad, or whatever the case is. If you've got a bench of people that you can pluck from, makes that interview process much shorter.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
And I do keep a file. I try to keep good, clear notes. Um, and right on the top of the page, you might put on there something, might want to follow up with this guy, in the future. I've
Yeah.
got one guy in particular that I really liked, and although we couldn't come to terms, I text him once every couple of months just to see how he's doing, and he's chatty. He'll get back with me, and would he ever be the right fit for my shop? I don't know, but there was something that we liked about one another. Um, and again, you never know what life brings you. So, and like you said, you could have a technician that just might wake up having a bad day one day and decide that it's time to move on.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It,
it's
it
nice to
happens.
keep all those candidates in a warm pool.
Absolutely. And Tim Chakirian's probably got one of the best stories that I heard recently about a technician wanting to come back to the shop. I mean, he expanded the shop just to bring this guy back in. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful, beautiful experience. And this technician that is returning to the shop is now taking on an apprentice and teaching the industry as well.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I love it. I love it. Okay, question has come in here, and this is a question for both of you coming from Angel. What kind of questions would you recommend for a non-technician? Somebody like me, I'm not technically skilled. Somebody like you, Mike, you know technical questions. You know the technical things to ask. And Brian, maybe you do as well. But for me, I'm not a technician. I'm not master certified. What kind of questions can someone who's non-technical ask a technician candidate?
Let's see. Well, if maybe I'm going to read into this a little too much, but if Angel happens to be a shop owner that has no technical background, I would probably confide with whoever your lead tech is at that time, who does have the experience. Let them compile a list of those questions. Um, and again, it kind of depends on what skill set you're hiring for. I mean, if you're looking for a rock star bumper to bumper guy, if you already have one of those guys, have them put the questions together. If you don't, network. Most of us know other shop owners who are, some of us doing better than others. Reach out. Um, that would be my recommendation.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Angel, where are you from? I'm Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So Angel, make sure that you are part of the association there, ASTA. ASTA is a phenomenal association. They have a very strong membership. And if technical is not your background, they will definitely help you. And Mike, to your point, if you've got a master tech creating your questions, also make sure he gives you some appropriate answers that are good answers. That this is what we're looking for.
For
This is
sure.
good. This is mediocre, and this is somebody who just doesn't have a clue what you just asked.
Yeah. Yep.
Brian, what about you? What would you say is advice for the non-technical to ask a technical person?
Going back to what Mike said, getting another team member or a peer involved with those questions. We do provide a lot of questions for you. I get it quite a bit. I actually had a shop yesterday ask me, he's like, "Hey, what can I not ask?" It's like, "Oh, there's a whole list of stuff." He's like, "What about politics? What about religion?" I'm like, "Stay away. Don't do
Yeah, you
that."
can't go there.
No, he was just joking with me, but uh, we can also help you with that. I do get that question from shop owners quite a bit of, what are your thoughts on this guy? Or, what are some questions I could ask? And I've actually typed up an interview, just bullet points for a shop owner for him to go over with a service advisor or a technician. I've been both. So granted, it's been many years, but I still turn a wrench in the garage with my house. But uh, and I'll even call a shop too. Hey, I'll call Mike and be like, hey, what would you ask this guy, or can you help this other shop owner out as well?
And Angel's gone a little bit deeper into this, so this is even getting even better. This is a pre-screening of a technician. They've got 13 different stores, 13 different shops. So, what are some good culture questions, team questions for someone to ask to find out which culture of all these different stores is the appropriate to go into?
So trying to place him in the correct store,
Him or her?
him or her. Yes, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. There's, I know the Institute has um, some information on um, what am I thinking about? Assessing people's personality types,
The DISC personality
the
test.
DISC personality test. That might be a good place to start, giving them that test. And also, and again, it's not something that we've done here, but I know a lot of shop owners do it. Doing that within your current staff and getting to better understand their personality types, and then give that same test to incoming candidates. That could help right there. Trying just by doing that, figuring out which store would be a good fit for these incoming candidates.
Brian, what about you?
You know, that's a great tool. I have quite a few shops out there that we work with that use the disc, and we'll have the candidate complete that prior to them, being sent over to the owner. We do ask some questions. What are you looking for in a new shop? You know, it's stability, work life balance, culture. Some of the guys they work with are toxic, and management won't do anything about it. So they're going to move on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, so those are some questions I would ask as well to make sure that you match up. 13 stores is a lot. So
Which is also really good. You've got a lot of opportunity of retaining that talent because you've got different options for him or her to go to as an option. Well, if it doesn't work out at this shop, I've got 12 others, and I've got 3 that I think you would be a very good fit for. So let's talk about what this looks like.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So Andrew types in with a really interesting question as well. When it comes to interviewing technicians, have you ever had what does he say? A senior tech sit in on technical questions in the interview? Mike, have you ever done that?
Yeah, I did that one time about a year and a half ago. I did have my lead tech really conduct the majority of the interview. Um, and we did end up hiring the guy, but I don't think I asked enough of the cultural questions. He was kind of just in it for himself.
Oh, geez.
But having my lead tech interview him from a technical standpoint, the guy he was savvy. He knew what he was doing. So
So you were looking for an A tech, and you had
correct,
an A tech interview to make sure that you were pulling in the right person.
correct.
There you go, Andrew. Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. Brian.
Real quick, so I wanted to mention something that I've seen a lot more lately is working interviews where they come in for 4 hours or whatnot, but you get them in there with the team that they're going to be working with every day. Get feedback from your current team, so you're not throwing that toxic person in there and potentially losing your other great techs who's been with you forever. Um, One shop that I work with in Oregon will actually the shop owner will do the first initial interview, and then they'll just throw them out in the shop, just do walkthrough, put them up with your senior tech or the the head guy in the shop or gal, and get the feedback from them, see if he's going to work. Ask those technical questions. Your tech can. You're not in a office bubble of the interview, right? The pressure of the owner staring at you. They're going to open up a lot more with that fellow technician or fellow service advisor about their personality and if they're going to fit or not. So working interviews is great, and just doing a walkthrough with the shop. You know, you'll learn a lot about that candidate.
Well, and so you two different ideas here, Brian. One is a walkthrough of the shop, but what about also a working
Mhm.
interview? Technician comes in and works for the day to see how he or she jives with the whole team. Do you do that? Is that
Yes,
appropriate?
absolutely. It
And do you
happens
pay
quite
for
a bit.
that day of work?
So typically the shop owner will pay cash, right? So they're taking their
Mm,
time off, they're using PTO or whatever.
sure,
There is a form of payment, you know what I
sure.
mean, to pay them for that time. Uh, Again, working side by side with the guys or gals you're going to be out with in the shop every day is good, and then get that feedback. So it happens quite a bit.
I like that. I like that. What do you think, Mike? Working interview?
I think it's a good idea, but again, sometimes in most cases, we're dealing with people that are currently employed, and depending on how their work schedule is, I mean, I've interviewed people that may have one day off during the week, and then they work on a Saturday. We're a Monday through Friday shop, so we're not open on the weekend. So if I had a guy that had a Wednesday or a Thursday off, or whichever day, guy or gal, I could bring them in and do a working interview. But at this point, I did have one entry level guy come in a couple of years ago, on a day off, and he came in and worked for us. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea if it works out for the candidate, if it works
Yeah.
with their schedule. So I'm a pretty compassionate person. I hate the thought of having somebody quit their job and come to work for me, and then after 8 hours, you just cut the yeah cut the cord. So
I've heard all those horror stories, Mike. I've heard technicians that failed to even show up for the first day of work. I've heard of technicians that show up for the first day of work, go to lunch, and never come back.
yeah,
I've heard of those stories. So yeah, it would be very powerful uh, from from a stability point of view, from a tech point of view, to make sure that they're a good fit. And a working interview, whatever compensation it is that you work out with that technician for the working interview, I think it is well worth it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Brian, a question for you. Now, this comes from Kevin. Kevin's asking, are there personal questions that you are not legally allowed to ask? And I think that there's probably a plethora of questions thou shalt not ask.
This is correct. Yeah, so there's a list of questions that our recruiters stick with. Um, Angel put a link in there. Thank you for that. EEOC is definitely, your HR's best friend. Uh, Gender, race, religion, all the top ones. Politics,
Politics.
yeah, stuff to stay away from.
What about drugs, drug use, personal recreational time?
So we do ask that as well, because obviously it's getting more and more free out there of each by state. We do ask, are you able to pass a background check? Or are you able to pass a drug screen? Do you have a clean driver's license? They're very forthcoming sometimes on what we hear from the candidates of their background, or hey, I don't do it at work, but I do it at night. So that's stuff that we would provide. All you can ask is just, would you be willing to take it? Are there any
Yes.
concerns if you were to take a background check or a pre-employment drug screen? It's how you
Nice.
word it.
Nice.
You can ask for
Yeah.
that. It's proper
Yeah.
wording.
Can you ask about children and spouses or girlfriends or divorced or family questions in general?
I would do not ask about that. That's some things that we do not ask on our end. If they're forthcoming with it, you can pick it up. Hey, I've got a family and daycare and all that, but you cannot outright ask that.
Nice. Nice. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Go ahead and type them in the chat. This has been very interactive. This is quite the conversation that we've had here on a two-way conversation. This is good. It's really good. What other items, Mike, would you suggest that as an industry we need to pay attention to?
Oh, to pay attention to. Um, that's a good question. You're really gonna scramble my noodle to try to think of an answer for that. Um,
Well, maybe we can go to Brian first and you can noodle on that.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Jimmy.
Uh-huh.
Lights on you.
I would say the culture. When I started in a shop 20 plus years ago, um, a lot's changed. Let's put it that way. Um, Evolving with the times, these technicians that are still in the industry are getting older, right? We've got the young bucks coming up the ranks, and they're not the same mindset as the technician that was there 40 years. That's 70 years old now, and you know got arthritis in his hands and back and knees. Um, you've got to change with the times. Unfortunately, I know some of us like to get stuck in our ways, and it's hard. But to keep this industry thriving with the younger generation, we need to make sure we, you know, not coddle, but I don't know how you want to present that, but we've got to change. So
We have to be sensitive to it.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, specific areas you think we need to focus on as an industry?
I think we need to focus on training internally. Um,
Mm,
I at least where I'm at, cost of living is terribly expensive where we are, and it was the same scenario for me when I became a full-time technician. There just didn't seem to be time in the day or evening to go to school. So, there's a lot of guys that are growing their own, and that's a better fit for some shops than others. It's a little tough for me because we're such a small little family here. Um, maybe some shops that have 4 and 5 technicians, um, they might be better suited for a mentor type program. But you really get during the interview process, that's one of the questions that we discuss is ongoing training and making sure that these guys are willing to sit down with it and do a lunch and learn, or maybe go spend 2 or 3 days at STX. They've got to be willing to continue their education. Um, these vehicles are so advanced now. I mean, you've got to be, everybody talks about the unicorn. Everybody wants a unicorn. If you're not a unicorn, you're going to really struggle trying to learn how to do this job on the fly. So,
yeah. Training
make,
is key.
yeah.
So to training, Mike, how much emphasis do you give? And this is a comment by Keith. How much emphasis do you give for certifications?
We structure our pay scale a little bit differently depending on the technician. I mean, I've had technicians that, when we have a production based pay plan for a technician, that they can earn extra dollars per build hour when they're maintaining a certain amount of ASEs. So, um, and also for training, I had one technician that was working for me that he'd get an extra dollar an hour for every hour he produced, um, by doing 8 hours of training, and he had no problem with that. So, yeah.
It's important that personal training. Cecil talks about often when he was managing Larry's shop up in California.
Northern,
it-
yeah,
yeah, Northern California, there was technicians that they would get a bonus if they participated every quarter. I think it was every quarter they had to do 8 hours worth of training.
yeah,
And this one technician, this one quarter, didn't do his training. So Cecil went to the guy and said, "Hey, man, thanks so much for this bonus you're giving me. I'm able to keep an additional $2,000 or $3,000 this next quarter because you didn't do your training this last quarter." And the
yeah,
training was a very broad, open online training, in-person training, reading books, personal progress. There was a lot of training that you could do that you get to choose from, and this technician missed out on that, and so he missed out on his bonuses for the next quarter. So
sure, yeah, yep. I keep a, each one of my technicians has a folder that their time card goes in,
yeah,
and so they see it every week. And we keep a training log in there. I print up a training log, I staple it to the inside of their folder, and it's kind of an honor system thing. Again, we're a small little family here, I'm on the premises all the time. So if I see, I come up in the break room and a guy's sitting there doing a World Pack lunch and learn, I see it. And, sometimes, a lot of times they'll come to me and, hey, I sat in on this lunch and learn, and, I learned this and I learned that. And, or, maybe somebody showed a different way of something. And,
yeah,
so they'll usually be the ones that open up. So you pretty much know that they took the class. They just weren't sitting there on the couch with their sunglasses on, pretending like they were watching it and sleeping. So,
right.
and when they know there's money hanging on the end of that, they'll usually do it.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I love what Misty has put in here as her suggestion for a question, and I'm going to couple that. What a good question is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I love that question, Misty. Thank you very much. That's a great question. And I want to couple that with Kevin's comment earlier about building a career path. If you've got a very well defined path that says, when you come on with us as a technician, this is the coaching, the training that we're going to provide in house. This is the trade shows we're going to attend. And if you perform at such a level, you get to go to these trade shows and attend to these trainings, the face to face, the hands on training. So when you are able to build out that timeline of what it looks like for these technicians, I'm going to invest in you. And in fact, I'm going to invest in you so much that your efficiency and productivity will increase, that you are going to get a raise because you are a better technician. You build that path and that timeline of what it looks like, because it could be, to Misty's point, in 5 years, Mike Gross wants to own the shop. Phenomenal, Mike. You know what? You and I are going to work together. There's a lot of free classes we can take at the community college that talks about business ownership. You and I will go take these classes together. There's instructions you can get from WorldPack, Lunch and Learns. There's instructions you can get from the Institute, the Gear Course Library. Go in there and watch everything to learn about productivity, profitability, efficiency, tech efficiency. Learn those skills you need to know as a business owner that you probably don't know as a technician yet.
Mhm.
Yeah. Are you building your competition? Potentially. But what a great friend to have in the business that has done this training. And what if, in the process of learning about business ownership, they get to a point where they say, "Hey, you know what, Mike? I don't think I want to own a business anymore. I just want to be the best dang technician you have ever had at this shop. And I'm digging in. I'm staying here. This is my life. This is my future. This is what I'm going to do. You got me. I'm a lifer."
Yeah. Well, again, in the interview process too, asking that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? I mean, I've had guys tell me that, this is, I eat, sleep, and drink fixing cars all day long, and I don't want to do anything different than what I'm doing now. I've had people say they want to become educators. I would love to, get into a high school and teach auto shop. And I think that's fantastic. But what does that look like for me? You want to come here, you want to build up some knowledge for 5 years. I'm going to invest all this time and money into you, and then you're going to boogie. That's definitely something to consider. Um, I've hired older gentlemen. I've interviewed older gentlemen. How much time am I going to get out of you? When are you going to retire? How's that back feeling? Um, yeah, there's those definitely good questions to ask. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? One question that I ask, I have nobody to pass this business down to, just like the previous owner. Um, I ask that question: do you ever consider owning your own shop one day? And some say yes, some say no. But again, like myself, I really wasn't sure what I was getting myself into when I bought it.
Yep, yep. Well, job security for one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really good. Oh, I was going to go down another path. I totally forgot. Oh, training. You'll never fail by training. You'll never fail. And we've heard it time and time again. I'll just reiterate it for everyone. What if I train them and they leave? To your point, Mike, what if I train you for the next 5 years and then you decide to go off into the higher education or high school education to teach shop? What if I train you and then you leave?
You know what? I think it's a risk that we all take. Um,
Yeah.
but you never know. Maybe that guy that you trained and he leaves and goes and becomes an educator. Maybe he starts sending you
Yes.
some of his students.
Yes. He sends you his A+ students, and now you have the best pick of the litter for that. But then also on the other side of this, what if you train them and they leave? What's the opposite of that? What if you don't train them and they stay?
If you don't
God
train them
dang.
and they stay, and they get comfortable, they get complacent, um,
Yeah.
and maybe they end up being removed from the company.
Yeah. We want them to progress. We want them to learn. We want them to grow. And as an industry, we want to be more professional. We want to have a career path for our people, for our staff. What's their goals? What do they want to do? Oh, I just want to turn a wrench for the next 20 years. Great. You have got a home here. As long as we stay productive, you've got a home here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes a long way. Goes a long way. Well, thank you to everybody that has contributed both online, and thank you, Mike, to you and your experience with Glen's Auto, your job security there with
Yeah.
Glen. Brian, Promotive, thank you very much for Promotive. Yeah, you guys are a valuable partner with the Institute. Thank you for all you're doing in the industry.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome. Now, one last final question. We'll call this the bonus question for each of you. We'll do it one at a time. Brian, I'll start with you. If you had a magic wand, what would you change in the automotive aftermarket? And Mike, this is giving you time to think.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Magic wand, what would you change?
I would say keeping a lot of these kids that we see these days, even my kids, they don't want anything to do with turning a wrench. If I had a magic wand, getting more, getting the younger generation more involved with automotive. Um, there's a lot to learn. It's fun sometimes, um, but magic wand, getting a pipeline of the younger kids into automotive.
Yeah, start them younger. I love it. I love it. Mike, to you, you have a magic wand. What's one of the things you would want to change in the industry?
I would want to change the mindset of the young technician. Um, everybody everybody today seems so focused on the dollars that it's almost like the passion older technicians have for this industry. They wanted to just come and fix cars, and they got paid for it. Now these kids coming in, I don't know where, I don't know if mommy and daddy teach them this, or their college instructor teaches them this, but they seem to want to come in here with virtually no knowledge or no hands-on experience, and want to make money, the kind of money that it took me 20 years to get to. And they need to fall in love with their career and be good at it, and the money will follow.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's almost in the realm of teach them how to work hard and the money will follow. Find a passion for what you're doing and the money will follow.
Work smart.
Oh, yes. Amen to that. That's awesome. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you to our friends who are joining us online. We're so happy that we're able to be here and be together for this great conversation. As you hear this information, as you gain this knowledge, there's a QR code that's going to show for about 30 seconds once we're done. Pull out your smartphone, get ready to scan this QR code. If you find this information valuable and you would like to learn more about this industry, more about yourself, learn more about your shop, this is an industry that will definitely chew you up and spit you out if you don't treat it with the right respect. Hire a coach, hire somebody to be in your corner and help you navigate this sea that's ahead of us. It's a crazy storm we're all in. As we lock arms together, we can survive this storm together. Nobody's in the same ship. All of our ships are different. Let's lock arms and together we'll make it. With that, my name is Jimmy Lee. I'm with the Institute. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.